Good morning. I'm a few minutes late. My apologies, and welcome to everybody on that Thursday morning, 10 a.m. in New York, and probably at your time zone, wherever it is. But welcome wherever you are to You Change the World. Again, a little reminder for whoever sees this for the first time that the title "You Change the World" is very, very simply inspired by the fact that most of us, right, when we are in a leadership position, and you know that I'm coaching leaders all day long, and it is a passion of mine that I can eventually support people to navigate the complexities of organizations, whichever they are, wherever they are. With many factors that we have to kind of take into account today, we're learning every single second. There is nobody who has any knowledge or expertise in leadership today. I don't think so. Things are too volatile and really out of control for many aspects of things. So we try, that's probably the mission of a leader, to get as much control as possible, at least on making a company survive or flourish, which is probably one of the reasons why we have a business or an organization, non-for-profit or for-profit. And leaders have tasks to cover every day. And one of them is definitely to inspire people and have impact on people, a positive impact on people. And this positive impact usually is of making as much as possible. And I hope that most of the leaders have this in mind, that they make people's life easier, smoother, fantastically, and really I kind of find the proper word to make it really amplified. But this is really the mindset. Make sure that people are comfortable, that people are happy at work, because this is an environment where it can be exactly the opposite, or used to be the opposite. It's funny, right? Technology, all the things that we innovate every day also, and innovation in general, if it would be in just aimed by very simple, single or double goals that have humanity in mind, right? And nothing against it. With the effort, because it's an effort of individuals and teams and groups of people to always work so that people have, together in a group, in a community, a purpose, because human beings need a purpose. And this inspiration of leadership to motivate people, empower people around a purpose can resolve a lot of things, but change the world indeed. So the title, You Change the World, is an individual statement that I make, without even knowing sometimes that, yes, I'm here to make the world a better place. But not only that, if I impact one person and this person's life changes or improves, that person is a world by himself or by herself. It's a world, one individual person, one world. And changing someone's destiny, or at least it's not that you change it, you're just part of that person's life, and you come with a positive impact on that person. And thanks to your inspiring leadership, that person starts to have more clarity and sees clear for themselves. What's happened is it has an incredible impact on them. It has an impact on their lives. They're going to have impact by themselves to all the people that are around them, and whatever they do in their lives later or right now will have impact on other people. And the ripple effect makes it that the entire world get changed. So we have a responsibility, right? Responsible leadership. And that's what today we're going to talk about. Just a little housekeeping again. You are seeing this on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, social media. And it's an effort for me to be on social media because I'm not a very big fan of social media. But what can I do? This is where we can communicate with you today. Secondly, podcast. So this is recording. Not only on those social media sites, you can find the recording on the area of whichever it is. You can find in my profile, for example, on LinkedIn, you'll find all the videos that we made. But on YouTube, definitely, because it's the purpose of YouTube is to stream videos and to record video and play videos to you. Is that you'll find in my in my excuse me in this YouTube website, you'll find the channel that is ours, and you'll find all the videos and all the things that we streamed over here or recorded in the past. So please subscribe to YouTube. This is my request. Secondly, go on our website, www.coachingpath.com or andre.politzer.com. You'll find interesting information. And furthermore, you can also go to a new website called my it's called what is it called? It has a name that I didn't want, so that's why I have a problem calling it this way. But I was advised to use that name, and it is Spotlight Mindset, spotlightmindset.com, because you're under the spotlight, and your mindset, when you are intentional to be under the spotlight, changes everything about your presence, everything about your appearance, the perception that you create around you. And this is where some techniques and a method called the Spotlight method that I designed for many years now. And this is because also of the background I have, that not only it was as an executive, as a leader, and before that as managerial positions, and prior to that, all the different apprentice situations that I had. I also went to a drama school. And when I went to drama school and learned acting, which I was really passionate about, and I stay a very passionate person to go to theater and watch theater plays, acting became something intriguing to me. And I think that the actors are the professionals of intention and presence, executive presence. They are the professionals. So they have and own different techniques that I think are very useful. And you'll find everything that is developing the concept there on this website. So this is why I'm taking a few minutes to just promote it, because it's brand new. So you are right now probably exclusively hearing about it. And it's called the Spotlight. So spotlightmindset.com, www.spotlightmindset.com in one word. All right, back to our topic today, which is about toxicity. And it's about you and the choice that you make. I'm always sharing things that come to mind, sometimes very prepared for show and structuring. And now today, not really prepared, because I was really very tied up this morning with unpredictable disruptions. So I am here sharing with you something. Again, I'm getting passionate about things because I see how people struggle with situations like this. And I really, as a coach, have all my intention to share everything I can, the coaching competencies, but definitely also the experience, and whatever I hear. And I'm actively listening to people's different situations. They are all different, and people are all different from each other. So there is nothing standard here. It's nothing set. It's not a template. We try to really look at the situation, and then from far, when I reflect on the coaching, and I take a lot of notes while I'm coaching people, at the end of the day, or when I follow up with my coaching clients and I send them resources or comments or additional information to add value to the coaching session, I reflect on what they said. I reflect on the experience that they are going through. And it's amazing. The toxicity is one of those, especially this year, that really not only intrigued me, but really concerned me. Because how can a leader allow, right, toxicity in a team that this person leads? How do you allow this to come inside your space? And if you allow me to even use an analogy for the space, I use the word sanctuary, because it's yours, because it's what you choose to have. It's your perimeter. You are really defining your boundaries. And by the way, those who are completely boundary free are not free at all. They are, in fact, dependent on everything that happens around: the weather, the obscurity, the lack of light, the lack of clarity, everything. You kind of imprisoned in a kind of system by just looking straight into your work, into your day, like a machine, right? Like a bot, like a robot, and not really taking this responsibility we're talking about. You have been designated or hired for a leadership position because of who you are. And it's true that sometimes you bring into an interview elements that will make you selected, versus someone else. But if people are smart hiring their managers and their executives to join, excuse me, a company and then build their team or take over a team, leadership is a responsibility. I come back to that. But it's first given to you to lead because you're capable of making some decisions and drastic ones about yourself. And this is really what the coaching comes in when it's an individual coaching. But even when it's a team coaching, which I do more now than I used to do before, a team is like also an entity. It's an entity, and we can use the entity as one and see all the elements that are part of this entity and see how the dynamic and the efficiency of this team works out. But when something external comes into that space to poison it, to become a toxic area or a space, sometimes without people knowing why, they leave this place nervous, anxious. They leave this room after a meeting worried by all kind of things that they don't even know where it comes from. Because someone, maybe one person, comes with this mindset to destroy it, to spoil it, to go after people and say other bad things about other people, influence people about their own agenda or bad moods or jealousy or whatever this thing that they own, that they have inside themselves, and bring into this room with the intention, conscious or subconscious intention, to spoil this moment, to spoil that space. And you're the one who, the leader, owns that space because you're the one who lead that team. And you have this responsibility to make people engaged and to just achieve and perform. But if possible, also with positivity, with an incredible amount of productivity, because you are so much into what you do and you bring so much yourself into it. So all the talents, all the intentions, positive intentions, all of that together form this incredible mix and harmony, people with people who are all positive, coming into one room, sharing, building, creating, debating, whatever the purpose is of that meeting. It's going to be, or even just a one-on-one, or two people working side by side. I'm just saying, this toxicity is something you can reject, you can decide to push off. And now comes the emotional side of it. Yesterday, I was coaching someone who brought the topic to me, saying that for years, I think 5 to 6 years, one executive who is a little bit higher than him in his organization is always creating a very, very toxic environment. And the reason of that, and we went to this a little bit, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a therapist, but it's sometimes very easy to detect that the cause of the problem is definitely not my client's fault. It's not my client's agenda. It's not my client's intention to be shaken up by this presence of a person that will always reject an idea, or will be criticizing, or especially gossiping, which is what his problem was, is that all his team becomes very disoriented and disempowered by the presence of this person. Because as soon as this person is present, all kind of things happen, like gossiping. And he's going to find an angle, something that will be certainly interesting to listen to, or at least captivate the attention of someone and influence that person. Again, that person does not even realize it, but it comes here. It's coming into the room. What do you do about this? What is it that you do about this? As soon as you feel something happens like this, and I'll tell you another story in a second, and then I think we'll be done with the topic, because this is really something that happens every day to everybody that you should avoid. And there's people who are pro-vax or anti-vax. The vax for this, the vaccine for this, the immunity from toxicity is to reject it completely. is to say to yourself, first of all, yourself, you as a person, right? Emotionally, that if someone is aggressing you, that is the worst, right? Someone is offensive, comes to you, insults you, humiliates you. Easier said than done. I warn you. What I'm going to say now is not an easy thing to do. But very surely, I want to say that it is your responsibility to create that emotional boundary. You are not getting affected by this person toxicity. So you have different options. You can just move out of the space and just turn around and walk away. And just this person will realize that something you are not accepting, that's something you're not taking, and physically it's your way of taking it. You have to walk away, not because you're a coward, not because you're not courageous, but because toxicity is one of the values that you are rejecting, of negative value, that you're not going to accept already in your own space. Your own space, we start right there. And I call it the emotional space because it's an emotional situation. You know yourself. You can't take someone who's gossiping. You cannot take someone who's yelling, having a loud voice on you. There's people who can't take it for many, many reasons. They can't take it. They had it when they were kids already, beaten up, abused, whatever. There's so many things that can be a trauma for someone that makes this emotion absolutely uncontrollable. And so now that a coach tells you, and during a session, you bring a situation, and I'm saying to you, you have not set any boundaries emotionally. You take every vibe of this toxicity inside of you, you take it, you welcome it. Why? Why? Why this person is entitled to spoil your life like that? Why? And I'm not talking about work only, right? It's also couples, it's also all kind of situations. And I'm a mediator, and when it's about comes to a divorce mediation, and I see the dynamic between the two, which is 90% of the time very toxic, and even 99% of the time guaranteed toxic when it's a high conflict, as we call it, high conflict. What do you do about it? The mediator cannot give advice. I'm just between the two dynamics, the two people. What I can do, though, is to tell them, wait a minute, stop. This is making them aware that they can't communicate. They can't make anything happen that is constructive, maintaining this climate and this vibe, which is really negativity. I think I'm saying really simple things. It's a rationalized situation, but what is not rationalizing too much is how strong you are, and you are much stronger than you think, to make that decision for yourself that emotionally you're not taking, you're not allowing this negativity, this toxicity to be in your way. Now, when you go one step higher and another, we get to a point when now we are a leader. You paid to lead people. You are not only paid for that, you are trusted to be responsible for that team, for whatever you do to succeed. And you set people for success because you are going to be successful if you do that. I always say, I think my naivety in the world of business was always to think that everybody think win-win. But no, there's people who are not educated enough or do not trust themselves enough to say, I can have a good deal if we are winning, both of us, both sides of it. And it's a deal, too. You work with me, you work in my team, I set some boundaries. And I can say that straight up to you when I set the stage of the next meeting or when we meet for the first time after you've been hired by me and we talk about how we're going to work with each other and how I'm going to integrate you into the team. I'm going to give you a few warnings. A few warnings, I don't know if it's the right word. I will notify you. I will make sure, and I will have you repeat if I have to, that you understand that I have a few rules for this meeting to take place or for me to lead this team. And I have a few no goes. And that's one of them. I'm not going to tolerate any negativity in my team. And if you are in a bad mood one morning, or if you are angry at someone and you want to bring this into my meeting, into the room where we're going to meet, virtual or physical, please stay home. Stay away. I do not need you. It's out, and you'll be a winner just by remaining yourself out. Resolve your issue, come back positive, come back healed, I don't know, come back in a good disposition, go to the swimming pool, have an exercise, meditation, yoga, whatever you want to do, but do not come into my space and affect it and poison and spoil it and poison it. Toxicity is something you can reject. And as soon as you sense it, because you usually sense it right, you have the right sensing the detectors. You see, you feel someone is really not positive. I'll finish with a story to tell you how much it can be damaging. And this is a story that repeated itself three times last year, 2023, 333, three times in the same company with three different executives. They were just joining the company and that not the same position, different positions in the company, as new executives. So they came from the outside, hired for their competencies, for whatever they were bringing the value to the company, and the company investing in them to bring and usually take over an existing team. First case, which is a classic, this is someone who, in fact, was hired at this position and didn't know that someone else wanted the job in the team. A, a lady that, you know, has been in the company for much longer, maybe 10 or 15 years. And, and this lady made this guy's life impossible from day one, rejecting everything, being a pain in the neck and being really very, very antagonistic. This person won over him. I make a long story short. She created such a case against him that even a tonality that he would have, or something he said, and he comes from another culture than the American culture, so his style of communication is not necessarily the same as we are. And sometimes when people are recently emigrating from their country, their culture to this country and have a leadership position, they are sometimes making mistakes without knowing. Mistakes. My first mistake I made, I already said this here a couple of times, but it's something that really stays here. My first mistake when I moved from Paris to Dallas, Texas, for an executive position, when I interviewed my first person, I asked that person's age, right? In the US, it's totally illegal to ask that question. And that's the first question they ask in France or in many other countries in Europe or overseas. So, right, in fact, he was very kind. This candidate told me at the end of the interview that he would advise me not to ask this kind of question in the future because this is not something we can do here in the US. So, interesting, right? Adapting to cultures. This is also what I call inclusion. It's what it is, inclusion. In fact, a leader should adapt, learn about someone's culture and background. We'll talk about it another time. I go back to this example. That person could not, took advantage, in fact, of this leader's foreign culture to pick everything she could against him and go to HR, file a complaint for being condescending and for being rude or for abusing her, which he never intended, or I don't think he did. But if it had an appearance of condescending because it has more of a direct communication, is it really a reason to that HR takes the side of this person who in fact had an agenda to have this guy kicked out? And he has been kicked out because it was accumulating and he had a weak leader himself. So so that's what case number one. Case number two, I have 3 minutes left. Case number two, same thing. A person, no, excuse me, it'll be different. That's another case. It's not in the same company, but I want to give you multiple examples. So this is a different example. This is someone, in fact, from the inside who is promoted and now has to lead her peers. It was her peers. She becomes now the manager of 7 or 8 people, and one of them was very much willing to have this promotion. She got the promotion, not that other person. Is she responsible for that? No. Her manager and all kind of stakeholders that decide on promotion decided that she was the right candidate for being promoted and taking over the leadership of this team. Very difficult for her. The coaching was about how to lead former peers. How do you, what is changing in your posture? What do they need from you? What the company needs from you? How do you change, adapt yourself to this? And how long it's going to take until people are going to really internalize that you are the person now that they're reporting to. That's a difficult one. It's not an easy decision to make. I warn everybody out there, when you promote someone in a team, make sure, very sure, that there is some kind of a consensus or no potential breakdown due to this decision that you're going to make. But here, again, that person who was willing to have this position so much made this person's lives miserable. And my two coachees in those two different cases, so the second one stayed, the other one was fired. Because it's always, at one point, it goes so far and so deep into the toxicity and to the negativity that we have to remove one person here from this equation. It's not going to work, period. And there was a bad foundation already. Due to what? And this is my conclusion. Due to what? I take half of the responsibility, if not more, by being the one targeted by this toxicity in those two cases. I'm the leader. I'm the one designated for the position. I was hired for it, or I was promoted to it. And here is one person who wanted it so badly, and now he's going to have a revenge on me, the person who's been designated for it. My strength on this is that wherever I go, I worked on myself for many years to build this wall, this boundary emotionally, that I'm not going to take a few things emotionally. In other words, I'm not taking any insult personally, not to take this toxicity personally. It has nothing to do with me. It's all this person's problem. This person does this because that person has a complex or has a very low self-esteem or has a problem, an issue. Why should it be my issue? And especially why my team should be affected by it. I reject it, but first with myself. I'm not emotionally affected by this person's toxicity. I hope this makes it clear to you, that makes you think about it. It's simple, it's basic. I want to really say it, but it's not easy to do. If this is something that talks to you and resonates with you, that you see that you have no boundaries at all emotionally, or you have not established the stage for your team to function under your leadership, that there is no contingency for this team to move on and operate because you never said that you're not tolerating, and it's tolerance zero, toxicity in your team. And that toxicity, as soon as it's identified by whoever, yourself or someone in the team, is immediately rejected, pushed off, pushed back. You'll have the right words. Of course, you have to say it tactfully, but you're going to have to say to that person that that person is not welcome when that person comes with toxicity. And usually it comes from one. And then if there is, a contagion, because toxicity is contagious, then it's already too late. You've got a real big problem. But think about it. If you tolerated that, and if you also take it personally or allow it to affect you emotionally, we're in a bad shape. This is why, please, preventive. Sign your own insurance, right? Toxicity insurance. And it's a lifetime insurance. And you make it itself. It's an agreement you make with yourself. Do not tolerate it at any cost. Nobody will tell you that it's wrong to reject toxicity. And it's a human thing. You can eventually be empathetic that someone can be negative, depressed, whatever, and brings this into the room, but you don't have any obligation to tolerate it, to accept it, with all the empathy you have for that person's condition, whatever it is that causes that person to be negative, or gossiping, or all those different proactive toxic actions that are really intolerable. You are not tolerating, and you just rejecting, and it is a contingency. It's not going to be tolerated. Zero tolerance for toxicity. Please, if you have any question, any comment on that, do not hesitate to write your comment on LinkedIn, especially, or on YouTube, because those are the two places, if I'm not mistaken, where you can write a comment, or maybe the other social medias as well. I would love to see your comments. Please also, you can write me a message in the website, and I really will welcome your insights extremely much, and then we'll share them with the other auditors. Next week, Thursday, 10 a.m. again. We're going to try to keep that 10 a.m. because it's covering a lot of time zones, and it's a good time, and it's a good day of the week. So have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much for being here. Take care.